What's up, it's cinemashogun here, and look, I gotta admit, it feels kind of crazy seeing Gabby Petito's name in the headlines again this week. But don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel crazy in like a bad way. It feels it gives me a feeling that I can't really explain, because if you followed the case like I did, and I know a lot of us connected through that case, we all had these unanswered questions. And don't get me wrong, we all came to our own conclusions. We all had our own theories and opinions. But there were just so many details that were never really confirmed. You may have thought one thing or figured that one thing would be this way, but you didn't know for sure. There were so many unanswered questions, and it took me a long time, and I know it took a lot of you a long time to finally kind of move on and to find peace with the fact that some details we will never know. So it feels kind of weird that here we are, after all this time, and now, out of nowhere, unexpectedly, these little tidbits of information are coming out, and they're painting a clearer picture of what happened, and they're confirming some things that we kind of already thought. Like earlier this week, the information broke that Brian Laundrie's family were already looking for a high-powered defense team to defend him, just in case this case went to trial or something along those lines. Now, that was interesting for multiple reasons, because even though we all thought that the Laundries knew Brian did something, we all basically assumed that they knew, but we didn't know that for sure. That was an unanswered question. I know you could sit at home and be like, yeah, we knew that. Yeah, we all thought that, but we did not have that confirmed. So seeing that they they were trying to get this high-powered defense team, it kind of lets you know that they knew something. And then I also found it interesting because it gives you a new perspective of Brian's reaction and what was going through Brian's mind at the time, because I was thinking that there was maybe a possibility that Brian already knew and always knew, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and end myself so I don't have to deal with this. But it looks like in the early days after Gabby Petito was gone, that Brian was going to try to wiggle a way out of it, try to get, some type of help from mommy and daddy. And then I think the case just got so big and it became so overwhelming that Brian knew, there's no way out of this. You are public enemy number one. This case blew up bigger than any, true crime case in the history of America. Almost, basically. Like that. So it kind of shows us that in the early days, Brian was weighing his options about what he was going to do, that he wasn't always 100% just going to end it. But now, Gabby Petito's family's lawyer is speaking out, and he has revealed that Brian Laundrie's dad, Chris, that he revealed that on August 29th, he got a frantic phone call from Brian, and Brian admitted that Gabby was gone. So now we know for a 100% fact, this is not speculation, this is not an opinion, this is not a theory, this is from the horse's mouth, the dirty Laundrie's mouth themselves. They have now admitted, for the first time, it took us years to get here, folks. It took us years to get here. We thought this case was over. We thought we would never know. We're here, folks. The Laundries admitted on August 29th. I believe that was the date. They got a frantic phone call from Brian, and Brian admitted that Gabby was gone. But before I go any further, I want you to hear the information from Gabby Petito's family's lawyer instead of from me. So we're going to tune into this news clip, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Now to lay it all out is Patrick Riley. He is the attorney for the Petito family. Pat, we appreciate you being here. You know, I thought I knew the ins and outs of this case, but, you know, my jaw dropped when this new information came out really over the weekend involving what you allege the Laundries knew and when they knew it. Basically saying that about 2 weeks before Gabby Petito was reported missing, that Brian Laundrie had made a phone call to his parents saying that Gabby was, quote, gone and that he needed a lawyer. How were you able to discover this, Pat?
Well, good evening, Brian. Thank you for the invitation this evening. The deposition of Christopher Laundrie and Roberta Laundrie was taken back in October, as well as attorney Stephen Bertolino. And during that deposition, for the first time, Christopher Laundrie disclosed that on August 29th of 2021, he received what he called a frantic telephone call from Brian, in which Brian disclosed to him that Gabby was gone and that he needed a lawyer. So that just confirmed what we had suspected going back almost 2 years.
So I'm thinking back to that time, Pat, and there is this search happening all over the country for Gabby Petito, an enormous amount of police resources all over the place. Everybody's looking for her. And according to this new information that you're presenting, the Laundries knew that she was gone. And I know this is now a civil trial, but I think a lot of people are watching this wondering, like, how is this not criminal if they didn't come forward with that information? I mean, were they allowed to withhold that?
Well, I'm not a criminal lawyer, but I know that attorney Bertolino has certainly taken the position that they had the right to remain silent. They don't have an obligation to disclose. So I don't know whether or not there are any possible criminal charges that could be brought against them at this point, but certainly in terms of the civil litigation, this is very big information for us.
Yeah, and the Laundries, again, this all came out as part of the new filing, collected a $25,000 retainer to pay a law firm in Wyoming. Yet at the same time, they were going public through their attorney at that time, releasing statements. There was one statement that said in part, on behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. That was September 14th. August 29th is when you're alleging that he was told she was gone, that they needed a lawyer. So are the statements really a big part of the case here? I mean, were they intentionally trying to mislead people, do you think?
Well, the statement certainly is the focal point of this particular case. It's really the only cause of action we could bring against Christopher and Roberta Laundrie. And the import of the statements is it supports our allegation that at the time that they made the statement, hoping that Gabby would be reunited with her family, which to most people, I believe would mean that she's going to be alive and it's going to be a happy reunion. At the time they made that particular statement, they knew that she was deceased, and they had known that for about 2 weeks and kept quiet for that 2-week period, despite the pleas from the family to help find her. And they chose to speak up and make that particular statement with knowledge that she was already deceased.
Are you surprised, Pat, that Chris and Roberta Laundrie were so forthcoming with this information? Because couldn't they have said, look, attorney-client privilege, we don't have to tell you what was going on behind the scenes in terms of us talking with lawyers and that kind of thing?
Well, it was an attorney-client privilege for what Brian told them. There's no privilege there. What they may have told attorney Bertolino could have been privileged, but they waived the attorney-client privilege in terms of their relationship with attorney Bertolino.
So how do things play out? I mean, I know there's a trial date set, the civil trial for next year. Is there any chance of a settlement? I would imagine, I mean, the Laundries don't want more information like this coming out. I mean, would you consider a settlement?
We would consider a settlement, but it would have to be under the right terms, and no one has proposed proper terms or right terms for the family at this particular point in time. But a settlement is always a possibility.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Mr. Riley, we'll continue to follow the case. Thank you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
You want to know what I really think about all of this? I think the Laundrie should be in jail. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion, but at the same time, you know, I'm sure some people would disagree. But let's be honest here. And this is not just me speaking from emotions because I really dislike these people. But I just feel as if let's say there's a missing girl out there, right? Put yourselves in the Laundrie's shoes or in their flip-flop sandals, whatever they wear. Let's say there's this missing girl out there. You know that they're dead. You're having phone conversations about them being dead. Don't you think you would be held somewhat accountable? You got literally millions of dollars being spent looking, well, maybe not millions of dollars being spent looking for Gabby. There was a lot of money spent looking for Brian. So let me reverse that a little bit. But you got the whole world looking for Gabby. And I mean, this case reached all over the world, right? You got law enforcement from all over looking for Gabby. You got parents looking for Gabby. And not only did you know Gabby was dead, you lied and pretended like you didn't know anything the entire time. And you're having secret phone calls with your son, the person who killed Gabby, and you're trying to figure out a way to wiggle him out of it. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I feel like if I did something like that, I would be in jail. I feel like if you did something like that, you would be in jail, and you, and you, and you, and you. If you were wrapped up in something like this, and you knew that someone was dead, you knew where the missing person and the body probably was, and you are misleading the public about it while at the same time having phone conversations about it, I don't know, I kind of feel like they would find a charge to hit me with, or a charge to hit you with. But nothing for the Laundries. And I feel like this whole time, there was a lot of people calling for the Laundries to be locked up, right? Everyone was saying, when the Laundries going to go to jail? But there was that question mark. Did they know this? Did they know that? When did they know this? How much did they know? So, being a rational person, I understand why some people were like, no, the Laundrie shouldn't go to jail. So up until this point, I kind of understood, and I was okay with the fact that the Laundries, never got any charges because we didn't know for sure. Maybe I thought the Laundries knew what was going on, but then it kind of looked like maybe they didn't because we never saw any charges. We never really saw law enforcement or anyone even talk about it like that. So, I was at peace with the fact that they didn't really suffer any consequences because we didn't know for a 100% fact if they knew what they knew and what moves they were making behind the scenes to possibly help Brian get the hell out of town or whatever they may have been doing. But now we know for a fact. Now we know for a fact that well before Gabby was even found, as Gabby's body laid out there decaying, they knew the entire time. And they said nothing, and they did nothing, and suffered zero consequences. So, I don't know about y'all, but that makes me feel some type of way. But enough about how I feel. I want to know about how you feel down in the comments below. Do you think they should have gotten charged with something? Are you okay with the fact that they did no time and suffered no consequences? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Now, while you're down there, if you would like to support the channel, you can do so directly via CashApp. I will have my CashApp in the pinned comment of this video, or you can support the channel via Super Thanks. Or, for totally free, you can support the channel by simply leaving a thumbs up, commenting, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, and all of that good stuff. But with that being said, I'll talk to you all soon in the next video.